right, give me a second now. Whew, all right. Listen. I love Demonology Warlock, and I think it's one of the best specs in this tier, in this season in 10.1. Just 10.1, not 10.1.5. Why do you ask? What night 10.1? I cannot even talk. What is going on? What are they doing to my boy? Oh my god, they butchered my boy. What are they doing to Demonology? It's in the goddamn toilet right now. So, okay, listen, PTR has just been hit with a bunch of Demonology changes, and okay, because probably I'm a little bit copium filled, I kind of want to see the best part of this and try to figure out exactly why the devs are doing this. I can kind of see some points, I guess, but a lot of these changes are just stupid. Why are they doing this? Why? Now, okay, with a grain of salt, please be aware that I might be biased, that I might be wrong. Obviously, this is through my own lens as a mythic rating demo lock, and you know, looking into Demonology for a long time. I love the spec. I have been playing it for years and years and years. We don't have actually any sims to all of these changes to see how they actually affect damage profile, but I have been playing it. I have my own logs. I kind of know what does what damage, which kind of brings me to the conclusion is like, I don't know why these things are being changed. Okay, so let's actually get into it. And we're gonna go through the talents. That's mostly what's changed. I think that's all that has been changed. And it's starting off a little bit weird. And we're gonna take this one at a time, considering that we're gonna be talking from a, you know, a single target perspective build, because Demonology in AoE is likely going to be okay. AoE is slightly, probably a little bit better, maybe. Better in the sense that how you're building your Talon Tree, as opposed to the single target. I don't know if it's better in 10.1.5 than it is now. But I digress. First of all, one of the biggest change that has happened is to Demonic Knowledge, which is the talent on the left-hand side going down from Demon Bolt, which has been removed and replaced with Shadow Flame Acolyte, making Shadow Bolt deal 15% increased damage and Demon Bolt dealing 10% increased damage. Okay, this is probably one of the worst changes in my opinion, but there could be other ones as well. So first of all, Demonic Knowledge, it makes Hand of Gul'dan have a 15% chance to generate a charge of demonic core. This is very important, as we have found out numerous times with casters, is that getting these instant procs is what's keeping your DPS alive when there's so much movement. Obviously, instant procs are good in and of it themselves because they do speed up your rotation. They make the smoothness of your rotation come together. It's a little bit more flowy, more essentially pleasant to play when you don't have to like hard cast a lot, because Demo has to hard cast quite a bit. And losing this is essentially losing you shard generation. As a trade-off, not only are you losing an instant proc, you are getting a talent that incentivizes you hard casting abilities. The 15% increased damage in Shadow Bolt is very negligible. It's close to nothing. It's my Shadow Bolts in a regular single target fight deal about less than 2% of my overall damage. This is prior to the Force set. The Force doesn't really help Shadow Bolt in any way, so a 15% increase in that is nothing. The 10% increase in Demon Bolt is okay-ish, but with a certain caveat, because another change that happened is that down from Demonic Knowledge, we have lost Shadow's Bite. It's gone completely, which makes so when you summon Dreadstalkers and they fade away, they increase the damage of your Demon Bolt by 10%. That essentially has been kind of baked into Shadow Flame Acolyte, which, okay, I guess baseline Demon Bolt has 10% damage, period, which, okay, it's fine, but we are still losing the shard generation, and in its place we have Fel Covenant. Now, I don't know you. I don't know what you like with Demonology Warlock, but I'm pretty sure Fel Covenant is not one of those things. If you do like Fel Covenant, you might be one of the 2 Warlocks in the whole wide world that likes this playstyle. Because what Fel Covenant does is makes it so that your Shadow Bolts empower your Demon Bolts by keeping up a buff that lasts for 20 seconds. Now you might think, oh, that's fine, I can just keep up this buff and Demon Bolts will essentially deal more damage. However, the more you play into a boss fight or in certain AoE, the fewer Shadow Bolts you end up casting. And especially if you're playing like Nether Portal or anything like that, you end up with a big chunk of time where you don't cast any Shadow Bolts, or at least you shouldn't, because there's more important spells to cast. This forces you to cast Shadow Bolts during that time. It's not a particularly bad thing, but it is something that you need to maintain. because for each point in Fel Covenant, you get a stack of Demon Bolt buffed by 7%. This, on live servers, is a 2-pointer talent that makes it so that each point increases the Demon Bolt damage by 15% per stack, and this is now a 1-pointer that only gives 7% per stack, and the kicker is that you cannot avoid it. Now you have to pick it whether you like it or not. And if you don't play the Fel Covenant mechanic properly, you get severely punished because you will lose out on the stacks. And as previous, where you would take it knowingly that this is the place that you go for, now you don't really have a choice because it replaces Shadow's Bite. So you could say in the grand scheme of things is that this essentially is supposed to replace the demonic core that you get from this side of the Talon Tree, because you're going to take both of these, and I don't think it's nearly the same. I cannot see a world where I would love to trade an instant proc demon core to hard casting Shadow Bolts every 20 seconds just to make sure that this buff is up. I don't know. Okay, listen, moving on. We also have another change to the right hand side to Felon Steel. Currently, Felon Steel makes Felstorm and Dreadbite deal 10% additional damage. Now, Felon Steel will make it so that your Felstorm still deals 10% increased damage, but Legion Strike also deals 10% increased damage. Now, this is fine. Well, essentially, the damage profile has been moved from Dreadbite to Legion Strike only for your main Felguard. Let's keep in mind, this has been changed as well, because obviously we don't want Grimoire to take advantage of that, because the tier set will just make it out of this world overpowered. But I don't know why we're taking damage away from Dogs, considering that Dogs is definitely a good part of your rotation, not to mention that Dreadbite usually hits in AoE. But you were exchanging that to Legion Strike, which is single target, and in single target, Dreadbite and Legion Strike kind of have the same damage, at least for me, and during my logs they have the same amount of damage. So essentially it feels like, although numbers might still change, but it feels like we're losing AoE to gain nothing in single target. Why? Sure, Demonology is pretty good in AoE, it doesn't scale as high as Destruction, and it's slightly worse in single target compared to its AoE performance. But this doesn't address anything. It just takes away a little bit of AoE, which is not the best AoE in the game, and puts it nowhere. Why? Moving on, we're not done. Oh my god. Alright, we have a couple of changes to the middle side of the Talon Tree, where you had Inner Demons and Demonic Calling, where we put 1 point into each because we just wanted the mechanic and the proc of it. Now, those have been made 1-pointers cap, which is a good thing, and they have been moved further down to the sides instead of Dread Calling and Demonic Meteor. And instead of them, we have 2 other talents. We have Imperator, or Imperator, whatever. It's a 2-pointer making your imps attacks have 10% increased crit chance if you put 2 points in. Sure, okay, that's definitely for single target purposes. And the other one is Dirty Hands, which we go once again into a world where we want to buff Hand of Gul'dan. Do we want to buff Hand of Gul'dan? No! Hand of Gul'dan baseline damage is poop. Okay, fine. I mean, I don't know if we're gonna end up taking Dirty Hands whatsoever, because so far we're essentially taking almost no Hand of Gul'dan increase in damage talents. Right now, why would we take this one when before we just wanted the points for the proc? Now, another thing has changed. Dread Calling is now a 2-pointer to kind of offset the fact that Dread Calling and Inner Demons are 1-pointers as well, and Dread Calling has been moved to Ripped Through the Portal, which is gone. No more will you have 3 doggies. Not to mention, Demonic Meteor has also been erased, and in its place is Demonic Calling. Demonic Meteor is essentially 5% additional damage and 5% per soul shard consumed to refund one of the soul shards. So essentially, a 3-shard Hand of Gul'dan would essentially give you a 15% chance to get a shard back. Once again, hitting the shard economy, and hitting it once here and hitting it once at the top with Demonic Knowledge, you will feel most likely the lack of shard generation, which of course will nerf your damage, which of course will nerf your tier set as well, because you're not shooting that many demon bolts, of course, because your rotation is just essentially slowed down. Why are we slowing down? Sure, Demo is pretty strong. It's looking at the logs and the numbers, it's definitely not the strongest one. Why are we hitting Demo in the head? And not only is the class nerfed, it's nerfed in what makes the rotation smooth and fun to play. But we are getting a new talent in place of Umbral Blaze, and Umbral Blaze, which is a talent that we almost never take because Hand of Gul'dan is poop damage, is moved instead of Fel Covenant, which is, again, maybe a place where it's good to be because we're never gonna pick it I don't think, unless something changes to the baseline hand of cooldown damage. And in its place, we have Cavitation, which makes it so that your Primal Fel Guards damaging critical strikes deal 10% increased damage. So essentially, you get 10% crit damage on your Fel Guard instead of Umbral Blaze. The thing with this is that we're still limited in talent points. So we either take this or we either take Imperator if we're going to keep building the same way to kind of, you know, have the same playstyle or at least the same type of damage, which is a weird trade-off to do. I would imagine Cavitation, maybe it's a little bit more AoE than Imperator, but then again, it's just 10% crit chance. Demo is not necessarily building crit. Maybe that's what they want to push the spec in, to build crit, but if we build crit, we have to take crit talents. So if we take crit talents, what does that do to other builds? It's one of those situations with the changes that happen that they want us to use other talents, which I'm all for, but they're nerfing the current playstyle and buffing a different playstyle. I guess this is maybe how you do it, but the result might be similar numbers, although it doesn't look like that. It looks like we're getting slightly nerfed. But most of all, we're getting nerfed in the terms of overall rotation and playstyle, which I don't understand why this is happening. Demo is so fun. It's such a good spec. Sure, it has some talent issues, but those aren't addressed. We're not addressing the issues. We're not addressing Doom and Kazak's Final Curse, which are dead talents. I don't know if we're ever gonna play these. We're addressing Fel Covenant, which is a talent that nobody wants to play, and we're putting it up there for everybody to play. We're nerfing dogs, yet we're adding a new talent. Instead of Fel Might, we have Heavy-Handed, increasing your Primal Fel Guard's critical strike chance by 10%, which you're likely going to have to take if you want to play Cavitation, because why get 10% increased crit damage if you don't get 10% crit chance? Or it might be 20% increased crit damage because it's a 2-pointer. So once again, I'm all for change, I'm all for new, but I don't understand why this is happening. It's still very early. I've tested Demo a little bit on the damage meters. I've tested Demo a little bit on the training dummies. I cannot really tell how good this is until I do some Mythic Plus, some proper raid bosses. It might just be just fine. Personally, I like some of the changes, but the ones that had to be sacrificed to get those in feel like such a big loss. And I don't know, after so many years of Demo being a joke spec, playing really awkwardly and having these weird interactions, we finally have a version of the spec that's really fun, has so many builds that you can explore, proper talent diversity, and we're going into a weird direction where we're killing the good talents and together with some of the bad talents, and we're taking the worst talents, making them more important and adding new talents in. I don't know what's going on. I've been looking in the Warlock Discord community. I cannot find a single positive feedback on this whatsoever, so I don't know exactly what's going on. Personally, looking at it, I don't particularly like it. I don't know where this is going, but maybe we'll just need to test it more. What do you think? Is the spec in the toilet? What's going on with Demonology? Why attack a good thing when it doesn't just feel necessary? Why? What do you guys think? Well, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you, patrons, for supporting the content, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.